Majorly, starting with page 40, where he articulates that a person or an individual is in charge of his satisfaction and happiness. And he incorporates it with what is symbolized on page 42, whereby he talks about that economic equilibrium, which bears liberty and justice. And this entirely tried to create a difference as juxtaposed to the theory earlier on propounded by these other philosophers. If you look at Karl Marx in issues of materialism and communism, then you also look at what Reverend Marcius had to articulate in about his theory of the Marcius population theory, in which he stated that time is going to come when people are more than food. And in it they are even trying to challenge the happiness of people and satisfaction, that at least the population should be reduced time to come, to say that regardless you're happy with your children, regardless you're happy that you should have this one should be limited because of the consequences and the fear they have ahead. So in his book, I hope he was directed by God, as he said, because it must have been a strong dream. He gives back people hope that you are in charge of your satisfaction and happiness. But instead, he inserts some onus on, say, that is the people who are in charge, that please ensure people have gotten their liberty and justice. And we get to know that the first moment God created this planet of us, and when you have well addressed yourself to the Old Testament, that the first people in the place were not kings, they were judges, entirely to ensure justice. Why people looked at the rebelling against the judges was because justice was not granted, and then they looked at kings, leaders, and we come all along with that history. But he brings in hope and says, let there be liberty. Now, if we look at liberty in our context, that here in our nation, when liberty is granted, a case in point in the economic production we have, that you are not restricted on doing this. Say, a case in point, we are looking at the marijuana now that is being planted, and it is giving a lot of money, but people are being restricted to have almost 200 acres to use to start up marijuana plantation, and being assured that you can meet a license of 2 billion. So entirely you're limiting some people who will plant their 3 acres and also get money out of it. You instead limit them from saying you're giving it to young people whom it may harm, but sell it for a medicine cause. Because we know marijuana on the other side is used as medicine. Before we abuse it, we can use it. That could be the technique. So he is looking at the context of liberty. Then, still in liberty, he inserts a challenge on the mode of taxation. If we are putting recognition of the laws that are being established here in Uganda, and just of recent, the Income Tax Act amendment of recent, which has inserted that a tenant is bound to, there is that 60% discount now of a landlord that is entitled to. Now, when you go to the other, again, tax inserted on the employment income of that individual, you find that it has been made hard. So, literally, what you're trying to challenge is that you're trying to challenge the economic implementation of these people who are coming up, creating a certain class of income inequality. When we look at our towns here in Uganda, most of them are occupied 80% by tenants, not people who own buildings or who are landlords. So the limitation in that kind of economy, the high regulation inserted on the masses, entirely means that liberty is entirely denying them to reach to the source of the economy. So he's saying, you grant them their liberty, give them a chance. The last quotation on liberty, looking at the mode of education, all our parents have been convicted that when you started to become a doctor, my son, it is a hope of income for our family. Yeah? Some areas which still believe in the culture, traditional ways, where they still look at bride price under the customary marriage. They look at it as a source of income to the families. But they have not granted the other liberty, the satisfaction and own happiness of an individual, a young person should have attained. Time wasted in cramming theory and putting it into record. Now, leaving aside liberty, let me set my summary in the context of justice now. Here, when he talks about justice, that when people are granted that quick hearing, let it be you complaining, let it be the other party that you are defendant. How quick has your matter been heard? Your property has been robbed. What time has court taken to ensure your property is back? Okay? Now, in the delay of justice to grant you that, most people are demoralized in going ahead to produce in the economy. Let it be the patentable restrictions inserted in Uganda, that even you set a claim and try to challenge it in certain organization, upon restrictions of lack to grant you a patental right, that due to that lack of justice, most people are discouraged of coming up with new ideas and producing their own things. Then, when we look at judgments in court, there is after that part of executions. How long does it take still to realize your judgment and the fruits? So all those delays, the failure of justice, that at the end, those are the things literally failing the economy. And I hope that's why a time when it's and he's convicted and he says, we rather resort to the natural law, other than the positive law, because natural law is that law where people believe that morally, I have robbed this property, but I have done bad. I stand, this is a sin, this is something not good. Other than certain people, which would be positive law, that are setting this law on their interest. And whereby we see that most governments, to be honest, in Africa, when you are relying on the positive law, but still looking at rule by law, not rule of law. They use the law to benefit them, not the law for the benefit of others. So briefly, I applaud him for granting hope on that. But then I will also set a question to him on the issue of satisfaction and happiness. What if all people say it is up to me to become happy? I can even as well go in the public and dress, and as my colleague, so long as people view me and I'm on social media, and then I get money out of that. Regardless, it is happiness and satisfaction. So he should state what limit does he also look at the other side. That's all I can talk about. Thank you so much.
Okay. That is being brief for a lawyer. Thank you so much.